You're listening to Sweet Life, the show that helps you find and walk your own special path. I'm Brooke Peterson. Here on Sweet Life, we like to explore unconventional career possibilities, self-discovery, professional development, and more. Whatever helps and whatever works to make it sweet. Every now and then, you might feel like, oh, it's such a nice day outside. Maybe I'll just go and hang out by the pool or go for a walk. I guess a walk could be healthy and nice and good for you. However, it might not be the top thing on your priority list. I bet there are 5 things you should be doing right now. No? 10 things? Well, hopefully, me and Sweet Life simply topped your list of priorities, and you're not using us as a procrastination tool. Apparently there is a difference. According to Psychology Today, 20%, that is 1 out of 5 of us, chronically avoid difficult tasks and deliberately look for distractions. Oh, yeah, I know, we're all guilty from time to time. However, some of us take it to a whole new level. Jeffrey Yates is a licensed psychotherapist and trainer who coaches people to tap into their creative potential. And you can't reach your full potential if you're procrastinating all the time. That's what I'm saying. He is based here in Los Angeles and has been helping people for over 20 years. Thank you for joining us, Jeffrey Yates.
Oh, you're welcome. Thanks for having me.
So let's just start from scratch. Tell us,
okay.
What is procrastination?
Well, procrastination, according to Dr. Peter Steele, who's really the leading authority on procrastination, he's based up in Calgary, done a lot of research and written a great book about procrastination, the procrastination equation. Mm-hmm. He describes it as delay or putting off something that, you would believe that you could do later, despite expecting to be worse off from putting it off. That makes sense. So there are things that we delay, like you're about to cross a street and you see a car coming and you say, I think I should wait before I cross that street. I don't want to get hit by that car. And then there are things that we delay and put off that are worse off. It's, what's the date today? April 4th?
I'm thinking taxes. I know where you're going with that.
April 15th is around the corner. And many people would say, wow, I really should probably begin to do my taxes. And then midnight comes April 15th, and I say, wow, I really should have done my taxes. I put it off, and I'm in a worse position because I owe the IRS money, and they don't like to be owed money. Yeah. They might actually charge me a penalty for not paying my taxes. So I'm worse off in that situation.
So now, but everybody drags their feet sometimes, like what makes this different for some people?
Yeah. There has to be a price or cost, Brooke, because as I said, everybody does. And according to the research, probably everyone procrastinates, 95%, and maybe a small percentage of people do it minutely or a trace amount. The difference is the thing that I'd like to kind of bring to this conversation is that there's pain involved in this. So there's an avoidance of pain that creates suffering. That's an age-old kind of understanding that people don't want to experience pain by doing something. They don't want to experience discomfort. So they would put that off and delay it. And then eventually the cost of that is higher, that there's pain involved. So there's an underground, or an unconscious or sometimes subconscious, putting off of something that I would could be something that I find boring. Most people, think that putting something off would be not a great idea when it would cost me something, later. But what there is there's a negative consequence for that. So what really defines someone as a procrastinator is someone who does this process chronically, and the cost of this, the consequence for it, is pretty high. Sometimes people put off taking care of medical problems. And, the most extreme example of that, maybe is catching cancer early on, Mm-hmm. Some forms of cancer can be totally eradicated if you find it in an early stage. But Colonoscopy is a good example. People use that. It's a very painful process. I don't want to go through that.
Mm-hmm.
But because I put that off, I sometimes catch the results of that procrastination, as an early demise to my life. So there has to be some sort of consequence, and in all kinds of behavioral problems that you see, there has to be some negative experience, that happens to me because I put something off.
Okay.
Does that make sense?
So it seems like there's lots of things sort of going on here. There is fear.
Yes.
Stopping people from doing what they might have to do, whether they want to or not.
Mm-hmm.
Could there even be like a lack of, like self-discipline? Because we all have to do things we don't want to do, but many of us, if not most of us, hopefully at some point all of us will at least, tuck our chin and just do it, and just get through it.
Well, the good example of that is, I played football in high school, and, the saying goes, no pain, no gain.
Right.
So I have to experience that pain. The avoidance of pain will cause the suffering. So yeah, most people do this, but there is the element of fear of either a good example of this is people get distracted. That's an element of what we're talking about. So like, oh, this is much, I have the opportunity to play a game. I'm supposed to do my homework, but I'm going to, play a video game, because I was looking at my computer and I was looking at the homework assignment, and I thought that doesn't look good. I'm going to do this
That's
over
no
here.
Fun. Yeah.
So distractible is a quality of someone, who is, what Pierce Steele talks about is impulsive, that I impulsively will, instead of doing what I need to do something else. I'll put it off, and there's a disorganized element to it, where I've got many things going and I can't decide what I'm going to do, and so my priorities are off. And but I think the biggest element of serious procrastinators are, that they can't delay the gratification, and so they need to be doing something that's going to be more pleasurable, so they'll say, oh, that's going to be boring to do my taxes or do my homework, or do what I need to do. It'd be much more enjoyable to do this over there. So I think, in looking at the problem and trying to solve the problem of the procrastinator, you got to look at, what really is going on, and one of the things I wanted to bring out to you is that there's this old psychological concept of locus of control. And locus of control is this idea that normally a person develops, and in their early stages of life, a locus of control is externalized. It's outside of me, right? So as a young child, I don't know that something's going to cause me pain, So the example everybody uses, don't put your hand in the fire, don't put your hand on the hot burner, you'll get burnt. And a child doesn't know that the fire is going to be painful. So the locus of control needs to be externalized, and that the child needs to experience that. And then gradually, as a person develops, they internalize control, and so that develops what we would call, when you have internalized locus of control, you operate with positive motivation. And when you externalize locus of control as an adult, you do things through negative motivation. So if I don't do my homework, I'm going to get a bad grade. If I don't do my taxes, I'm going to get, penalized by the IRS. So that's the whole idea. Procrastinating is a way of creating negative motivation. And that's, the serious, person is really running their entire life on negative motivation, if that makes sense.
Sounds like a bummer.
It's a real bummer.
Like you're just living with the consequences and fear and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah. It, you could experience, fear in different ways, but to be able to learn how to really understand how this is going. Everybody has a particular story, that I work with, and they have a relationship to their emotions and their life, and it's important to kind of see how that plays out for everybody. Not everybody's the same, not everybody procrastinates for the same reason.
Yeah, in fact, when I was doing some research, I was really surprised at how many different reasons there are for procrastinating. Like you mentioned already, we've mentioned probably 6 or 7 with the being disorganized or not being able to make decisions, and we haven't even gotten to the whole perfectionist thing yet.
Well, that's the big myth in procrastination. If you've seen that people associate perfectionism with procrastination,
and that's not true.
It's not true, according to the research, that perfectionists are not always procrastinators, and perfectionists, some perfectionists do procrastinate, some don't, and perfectionists procrastinate for a very particular reason, that often is not prevalent in most procrastinators. So it's one of those myths that people thought for a very long time that if I was a procrastinator, then I must be a perfectionist, and it's just not true.
So when you say that a perfectionist might have a very specific reason, you're talking about like just one of the other reasons we've already talked about, or like is there a specific reason for perfectionists that might procrastinate?
Well, it's pretty obvious,
What?
that I'm not going to do something unless it can be perfect.
Well, then there's the whole doorway into self-esteem, like, well, I'm not good enough, because I don't know enough, and I want it to be perfect, so if I can't make it good enough or make it the best out there, then I'm just not going to do it. Yes.
I mean, there is a correlation between perfectionism and low self-esteem as well as procrastination and low self-esteem, but that is not always true. There's some perfectionists that you could even call a narcissist. They think they're so great, and everything has to be perfect. So perfectionists, they can be masking a low self-esteem. That's something that you want to, in trying to, I think it's a puzzle working with people, is to kind of figure out what's underneath the actual symptom or the behavior. And it could very well be low self-esteem, like you're talking about, but that's not the biggest element in procrastination, but it does affect procrastinators, because it's an avoidance tactic, and I tend to believe it's an avoidance of pain and feeling discomfort.
But that just seems smart, to avoid pain.
Unfortunately, it's what causes so much problems in people's lives, And so one of the biggest, hurdles that I find with working with people is to experience that. Look, I think that if you take somebody and you look at this process and they're procrastinating, first of all, I'm not going to even see a procrastinator walk through my door unless they, have experienced some pain around it and some, let's say consequences for their procrastinating. Unless you're, coming in thinking you have one problem when really what's going on is that you're procrastinating, So why would a procrastinator need, ask for help? They'd be procrastinating and avoiding the process. I might go see somebody who could help me. Maybe a life coach will help me. Maybe a therapist could help me. I'll do that tomorrow.
Well, don't go anywhere, anybody, because when we come back, we're going to start talking about the process of healing. You are listening to Sweet Life on LancerRadio.org, streaming live from the beautiful campus of Pasadena City College. And I am Brooke Peterson, and I am the host of Sweet Life. And every week, I do my best to bring to you something that is inspiring, intriguing, interesting, fascinating, educational, or just something fun. And today, we're learning from Jeffrey Yates, a licensed psychotherapist and trainer, about procrastination and how we can stop the madness. Just get on that horse. Okay, so, Mr. Yates.
Yes. Okay,
so we have learned already that there are many underlying causes, potential causes for procrastination.
Yep.
The big ones, I believe we've talked about, is avoidance of fear and suffering, or pain and suffering. which would go back to fear. Being disorganized or unable to make decisions, or perfectionist somewhat, but maybe not as much as we all might think. So how does somebody start getting better? Can you just stop procrastinating? How do you just stop it?
Well, let's start by having fun with the process. It's important that we can take a serious subject like this, and sometimes it may be painful, and have fun with it. Do you know the national anthem for procrastinators?
No.
Tomorrow, I love you. Tomorrow, you're only a day away. So, you have to have fun, first of all, and be able to talk about what's going on, and to look at, kind of break it down into specific, understandable steps. The first one is that, I have to be able to see what it is for me, see what it is that I'm doing and the consequences of that, and to kind of feel what it feels like to look at that. So that's what we call, surrendering to the process or the behavior that's going on. So once I can look at procrastination and how I procrastinate, and everybody does it a little differently, and to admit the consequences and look at that and feel, whatever I'm feeling. That's a big breakthrough for a procrastinator.
Just recognizing their issue?
Say it again?
Just recognizing their issue?
Not only recognizing, but feeling what it feels like to look at it. And that something simultaneously happens, Brooke. If I can work with somebody and I can get them to experience their feelings a little bit and to experience that pain, that's training them to be able to experience the discomfort in their life and to change, because what we're talking about is changing. So, classic theater structure, when you see a story evolve or a protagonist evolve, we call that an emotional catharsis, So, I feel my feelings. Yes, it's painful to look at this. And then, I begin to understand and get some insight as to why I've been doing this, why I avoid, why I put things off, and it could be, like you said, could be because I need to be perfect, because I'm avoiding pain, or because, I don't want to grow up. There's people who have the Peter Pan syndrome. I don't want to be an adult. I don't have to take responsibility for myself. But see, get some integration, and then start to practice new behaviors, to slowly. One of the things I love that people talk about when they talk about procrastinating is like, hey, you don't want to do this particular task? Well, just have fun with it, Just make it fun.
That sounds so easy, but really,
it's a setup for procrastinators because they don't perceive this task as fun, So when I work with somebody, I do what I just I attempt to do, try to have a breakthrough where they see the behaviors and the consequences and feel the feelings, and then begin to allow people to identify a purpose for themselves, some kind of mission statement that they can operate from. And that, so it really, that's sort of the cutting edge today in education and consulting and training, is really identifying a purpose. What's my purpose in life? Where am I going? What are my goals? And then I start to look at, how to prioritize what I'm doing associated to that. But, they did some interesting studies where they went into businesses, if you've seen this research, and they offered people money to achieve well, and they discovered that beyond really basic physical tasks, that intense cognitive, tasks and challenges, people didn't really do well if there was a monetary, reward for that. So what that tells us is that, people's perception of what they're going to get doesn't really affect, it's sort of like, well, look what it's like parents do this with kids, hey, if you do this task, we'll give you this prize at the end of it. And that doesn't actually motivate people. And what I call that is external motivation, things that I think I'm going to get, and I think I'm going to get, it's going to make me better off, or I'm going to be happy if I, achieve an A in a class. And really, what we know from the research is that, beyond the immediate moment where you get that, after a while, the perceived good thing that will happen to me doesn't really affect my overall well-being. So I have to really find out what is motivating people. What's the internal motivation? Why do I think this is important? One of the things that we talk about is, this is an inside job. It's not an outside job.
Right,
It's not about getting the toys and prizes. It's about changing how I feel about myself, being able to master a task, something that I need to do and that I feel challenged about, and then I'm able to accomplish that, and that changes how I feel about myself.
Mm-hmm. The self-esteem thing again.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, it's self-esteem, but it's really about the way I see myself. We try to measure self-esteem, but I think it has to do more with self-image. That I'm a person that can do something difficult. I'm someone who can challenge myself. I'm somebody that can experience pain. So that's why I think sometimes using a timer, and just saying, okay, instead of needing to spend the whole day on this task, I'm going to set the timer at 5 minutes, and then I'm going to accomplish that. And then I see, okay, I was able to do that. So I take tasks and I break them down into smaller increments. I work with a lot of creative people in my practice, who want to write music or, literature, scripts and things like that. And the idea of having to get to an end of an album or the end of a book is just too overwhelming. It's just like, okay, I'm going to write a paragraph today.
Yeah.
I'm going to write the first line of a song, and break it down into very digestible increments.
Mm-hmm. Bite size.
Bite size. I can chew on this today.
Right. Okay, so is that part of maybe... Okay, so for any person who doesn't have like major life issues that might require further, discussion or therapy or life coaching, what are some simple steps that somebody can take today to start overcoming this procrastination? Is it time management, organization, prioritizing? What is it? Or all
I think it's a bit of everything.
Yeah, of course it is.
Yeah. No, I think, like a business. If I think of myself as a business, when I ask myself, what's my purpose? Have I written a mission statement for myself? That's something that the business world does very well. And I think that, in life coaching and psychotherapy, I think it's a good big place to begin, and just, identify what my life is about, what do I want it to be about, what do I want to achieve, what's my goal, break that down into really kind of a simple statement. And then, there's wonderful tools out there, that people can use. The one that's available on the internet, that the Urgent Important Matrix, is a great one.
Yeah, talk about that, because I just learned about this, and I had never heard this before. And, I'm not 15 years old. So tell us about this briefly. It seems like it might be kind of handy.
Yeah. I mean, there's a great, if you go to mindtools.com, it explains how you do it and the steps. But you're really trying to identify, Brooke, what are the urgent and important tasks that I need to do,
Yeah, so
and
it's a
after that we identify what's
tool.
urgent and not important, and then not urgent and, but important, and then not urgent and not important,
right.
And that's stuff I need not to be doing. So, I begin to identify, where these tasks stand, in relationship to my purpose, and I'm able to categorize that. A lot of this information has been around for a very long time, The idea of procrastination has been around for many centuries and written about. And some of these tools, that even a simple one, even more simple that is the Benjamin Franklin T, positive and negatives, of something that, there are tasks and tools available. The internet is a great place to begin. Not to procrastinate and avoid, but to find very useful tools, to focus myself.
Well, so real quick, because we only have like a minute left, but say, for instance, you've done this urgent, important matrix, and there's 3 things that are important and urgent, which is not a good place to be in, by the way. However, situation to be in. But how do you prioritize from there? Like, what do you do first without, losing your mind?
Yeah. If you had 3 urgent and important tasks, very important. I would begin by doing one of them, whatever.
Just do it. Just dive in. Just get
going.
Dive
in. Just begin. It's about taking action.
The first step is always the hardest.
I'll leave you on this, is you and I are talking about this, I've been helped by this conversation. You, hopefully other people are. It's okay to ask for help, So if I discover my urgent and important tasks, I might call a friend and say, hey, I've got these 3 things I need to do, and I really need to do them.
Round the troops, for sure.
Yeah.
All right. Well, gosh, thank you so much for joining us today, Jeffrey Yates. Mr. Yates is a life coach and therapist located here in the Los Angeles area. We really appreciate it.
You're welcome. Thanks for having me, Brooke.
You've been listening to Sweet Life. I'm Brooke Peterson. You can like us on Facebook by searching Sweet Life Radio Show. Until next time, make it sweet.